Yes, sir. It's another episode. We got somebody special for y'all this week. Sideline judges, non-believers, people holding their grudges, appreciate the hate. It comes with the winning, the money, unstoppable from the beginning. Your excuses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produces. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. I should have said this first. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. And we have a very special guest on for you today. As you see, we're still in our home, the Moxie, but I'm in a different space in our background. I'm sitting in the swing today, and I'm sitting in the swing for a reason, because me and this gentleman here, we have swung from left to right, from back to forth. We've seen so much together, and I am so proud of seeing his growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's clap for Mr. Darnell Davis. Welcome to the show, brother. You know,
thank you, my man.
No one will ever be able to understand our history, right? Because we've come through so much. And I don't even want to go through it all. I want to talk about the greatness that you are doing right now. You know, you don't have to be perfect, but you found a lane right in this LinkedIn and started perfecting something amazing, right? So,
man.
First of all, tell us, how'd you choose LinkedIn out of all of the social media platforms to hang your hat?
My guy, it started back when I was a young buck, really. When my first job out of college, well, not my first job, but my first big job out of college was for Wells Fargo. And I was working for them, and they were like, hey, there's this new platform that you put your resume up on, and it's called LinkedIn. That was like 0304, right? And so so in my banking days and everything, that was like a mandatory tool, right? And over the years, you know, the platform itself started to evolve and started to grow. I think it started getting real live after Microsoft bought it. Once Microsoft bought it a couple of years back, it shifted everything, and the platform just became more robust. It became more interactive. It became more things. And then over the last, especially post-COVID, it became more of a tool for content creation and all those things. I'll never forget when I got my they gave me the Creator Lab. Man, I've had the Creator Lab on LinkedIn for years, and most people I didn't even know it existed until one day I'm like, what is this new button, right? And so there's a lot of things that happen. So LinkedIn became my platform because I was a small business owner just trying to look, you know, in banking. That's where everybody was. That's where everybody was playing. And then when I started my first magazine, Evolution Magazine, man, back in 2012. I think it was 2012 or so, right? I started realizing that connection, man, was like, wait a minute. I could use this thing to talk to people all over the world. It's not just for like right here. It's for everybody, right? And so now I'm talking and I'm chopping. And then I ended up with a mentor in the UK. And this old dude was rude, man. He was a rude cat, but well, I'm not gonna call it rude negative, but he was like just blunt, like, yo, get off your pity pot, like just smacking you around with words, right? And so that's when it really became love, because it was like, wait a second. You know, I started realizing everybody's fighting over like this small pool in this small pond, I'm like, there's an international thing going on here, man. There's business all over the world. Why we got to be sitting here doing it? And then once, so the different formats of e-commerce, all that stuff started popping, it just became my platform, man. I don't. From there, it just became like, yeah, man, I want to talk to somebody over here. Then it started becoming, hey, I'm going to be over here speaking in this state or in this city. Let me find out who's over here. Then it just became this tool, man, that I got to be honest with you, man. It's revolutionized my personal life as well as my business, man.
And I love that you say that, because most of my greatest contacts are on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, man.
Even though people see us do a lot of our marketing and a lot of our community stuff on other social platforms, what I found was many of my more professional contacts, my multimillionaires, my billionaires, weren't on Facebook.
Nah.
I wouldn't, and if they were on Facebook, it wasn't them on Facebook, right? It was a content manager. It was someone else.
Yeah.
But on LinkedIn, I would be talking directly to them, right?
Yeah,
And
man.
it did. And I love what you talk about. It expanded your network. So, how do you think networking helps a business, a person succeed in life?
They have that old, everybody's heard, it's not in what you know, is who you know, right? That's everything. I mean, come on, everybody's heard that phrase over and over and over again. And one of the things that I realized, right, was that your network isn't just about, let's take the business of money side out, right? Your network is still everything to you, right? We kind of look at networking only for the business and all that stuff. But when you think about it, if you ever been driving, you was like, you know what? Today I'm looking for a plumber, right? And you was like, you reach out and you talk to somebody who's like, you know what? I got a guy. Everybody's got a guy for something. You needed your car fixed. You had a guy. Somebody that's, you had somebody that was like, yo, I got a guy, right? And then next thing you know, you're like, hey, I'm trying to buy a car. And then you were like, oh, man, I'm trying to buy a house. And you're trying to do all these different things. Your network, all of a sudden, most people don't realize that's a network, right? That's the simplistic thing. It's just the who you knows, right? And everything that you go into and everything that you're looking for, that's kind of what your network is. So if you needed clothing, you need your hair done, you need a haircut. You know what I'm saying? Many times you've been sitting in the barber shop, especially back in the day, whether you wanted some movies, you needed a little shirt, you needed a little something. You know what I'm saying? You can get it right at the barbershop, right? Remember that? Remember those days, right? Just sitting in the barbershop. Yo, everybody, I got my mans coming in with the DVDs. You can go get your bootleg CD of Biggie. You know what I'm saying? You had somebody that was in the barbershop, that was in the hood, that has something, right? Flip that to
Yes, sir.
business. Your business needs stuff. Your business needs people. Your business, we haven't even talked about money yet. We haven't talked about transactions. Nothing. You're going to need somebody that's going to, hey, you need your computer serviced, right? Yeah, you can go to Geek Squad or whatever, but are they going to take care of you like old boy right down the street? You know what I'm saying? The small guy. Then it becomes, okay, my company needs, maybe I need shirts done for my company. And, all these different things that you need is also out there already. So your network is in that. Now, when you flip it to business and you're trying to get transactions to happen, now it's like, okay, I need access to so-and-so because so-and-so's got it, right? But you can't get access to so-and-so, but you know somebody who got access to so-and-so. And then you go to that person and say, hey, man, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with old boy because I'm trying to expand my business, and I think that he might be a key person to help me do so, right? And so now those transactions start to happen. And so people kind of look at networking as this mysterious, I don't know what to call it, right? But it's like this mysterious thing. And it's really something you do on your day to day. You don't not network, man. You need to go eat. Where you going to go? Everybody got the spot, right? Oh, yo, I'm gonna go down here. What you want to eat? You know what I'm saying? Yo, over here, she's got the best chicken wings over here. He's got the best Spanish food over there. Yo, every time you see that, you do that all the time. It's in your everyday. It's everything every day. You just flipping the idea to say, hey, my business needs this. This morning on our podcast, right? Vanessa said something that just hit me, and I've been chewing on this all day, like thinking about how to flip this into a piece of content. She was like, networking is like going to the grocery store, right? And I was like, the grocery store. That's kind of nice, because you don't go into the grocery store for everything. You just go into the grocery store for the things that you need. So if you don't need this, you're not gonna go pick it up. But hey, I'm gonna make coffee in the morning, so you're gonna go pick up the Cafe Bustelo. Then you're gonna go over to the dairy section to get your creamer or whatever you're gonna do, and you're gonna make your move. You're gonna leave, right? You're not gonna go to get dog food because it's not what you want. But your network is kind of like that, right? It's like, yo, I need this over here, so I'm gonna go over here and take care of that. I'm gonna talk to that person, and you cultivate that like a grocery store. So when you need to pull something, you need to get something, you need to get access, you just, hey, I know, oh, you know what, over here in this aisle 2A, I know that I got 3 realtors and 2 financial planners, and I need to make a referral happen. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. I love that you broke it down that simply, because most people don't realize that networking isn't rocket science. Networking really is what you do. I remember a good friend of mine, said to me one time, I was in a room full of millionaires. He said, everyone in this room is worth, multi-millions except for you. He said, you can do one of 2 things. You can make sure everyone has your business card, or make sure everyone has your number. He said, because when they go and they do business, no one goes to Indeed or any of these places to hire the people they want. They go right to this, right to their cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're in their phone, you're on their mind.
Yes, sir.
Right? How many times can you be in someone's phone mind? And I love, like, that you've done some amazing to be in people's phones and on their minds, but you've done some amazing things to empower others. Like, I want to know, how did you get, as a man, right, get to lead such an empowering women's conference in our valley, right? Because usually that's led by women, And as a man, you did it, and you did it respectfully, so that the women did truly still get their lead. So how did that come about? Do you mind me asking?
So I'll go backwards in history first, and then I got daughters, right? I have daughters, and I think it was 2012, I hosted an event called the Women in Business and Leadership Conference, right, at Hotel Bethel. And the idea of it is I wanted my daughters to see that there were women out there getting money, doing things, living life, and they didn't have to take off their clothes. They didn't have to walk around. They didn't have to exploit themselves. They used their brain to get to where they needed to be. They were powerhouse, beautiful women that were powerhouse. They were smart. They were doing everything. And that was really, really, really started. It wasn't even about me. It was just about my babies, right? It was just like, hey, I need them to see this, because what's going on TV, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm like, I can't look if they don't see that, right? If that's all they see, guess what they do? That's all they do, because that's all they see. And so that's where it started. And so we started that, and then some years ago, actually, right at the height of COVID, I met a young lady, and we were doing this thing out here in Easton called the Easton Gourmet Potluck. It was just a potluck where it was like, hey, we can't get together over here, but we can all come together and do these outdoor potlucks, right? Where we picked a cuisine from a different country, and we would all make a make something from that country, and just come all fellowship and kind of be together. She had established a networking group called the Lady Boss Entrepreneur Net Club, right? And she had asked me to come on and help her with rebranding it and reformatting it, and helping her relaunch it, helping her. And so she wanted to create a magazine for it. And she knew that that's something that I had been doing, on the side for companies, is throwing magazines together, publishing magazines for other companies, so that they could, so they can get the word out about their businesses. And so that's what we did. We started with Lady Boss Magazine. When we got into it, she was like, "Look, man, I got this new." She's, I mean, this. I don't know if you got the chance to meet her while you were at the event, right? But she's got several doctorate degrees. She was going back to school to get another degree. She's a what is that word I'm looking for? She's an officer in the Air Force. She owned a business. This woman was like a powerhouse of a woman, right? And she was like, "Look, I got to let it go." And I was like, "Whoa, hold up, man. You can't let that go. That's 2,000 heads. That's 2,000 people. You can't just let that go away." Right? And she was like, "Well, look, if you want it, you can have it and run with it." I was like, "Hey, how about we do this? I'm not going to take it from you. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to keep you on as as a member of the organization, as an ambassador, if you will, because she couldn't do any because of her job. She's in the financial sector. She just couldn't do it like that. And so we started brainstorming then, before she handed the keys over to me. When she handed the keys over to me, she's like, "Do what you want with it," right? And so I rebranded it from Lady Boss Entrepreneur Club to Lady Boss Network, because I thought that was a better niche. And last year, it started. If Lady Boss 2024 was the first one, Summit was the first. So it started in 2022. The concept of the Lady Boss Summit started in 2022. And it was like, "Hey, I think we should get together. We should call this thing Lady Boss Summit. We should just bring powerhouse women from all over the valley and surrounding areas, and let's motivate everybody." But I'm going to one up, because remember, I haven't forgot about my babies. So then, if you know anything about my company, I interjected. My daughter actually works for me. My youngest, well, all my kids are in the corporation, but my youngest daughter actually works for me. And I was like, "Baby girl, this is something that I'm putting together for you. Do you want this as a business?" And she was like, "Let me, how teenagers are." It was like, whatever. So for year one, I kind of did it, and she was like, "Oh, she didn't make it." This year, I'm gonna break down. I'm not gonna cry over this, but I just love my girls, right? I love all my kids, but this one, it hit me, because she shows up, and
Daddies love their daughters.
she shows up, and I'm geeked. Everybody's like, "Why are you cheesing like this?" I was like, "Y'all don't even know. Like, I did all of this for one person, and the only person I wanted to be in the room was in the room. Y'all could have the 150 people that showed up, the almost 150 people that showed up. That one person being in that room that day was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. This is what it was all for. The craziness, the headaches, the heartaches, right there for her being there." But then what happened afterwards was, she was like, she walks up, and if you get to know Ruby, she's always thinking. She's always, this little girl, this young lady is always thinking. So she's walking around, and she's like, and I'm like, "What you thinking about, baby girl?" And she goes, and she said, "This is mine." I'm like, "Yeah, I did this for you." She's like, she goes, "Okay, I got some changes I want to make, but let's talk." Right? I was like, "Okay." So, so I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, baby girl, let's do this. Let's do this." There's nothing greater than you putting in work with your kids, boy. I was like, all right. She took ownership right there. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to get there, but that baby girl, when she walked around that spot, was like, this is mine." Okay. Okay. And she's shaking her head. She's walking around. She's like in her diva self and everything. She's walking around. And so it really wasn't about anything I wanted. It was always about putting my daughters first. It was always about put them in front, like wanting them. And I got to be honest with you, man. It's still the event and the group is still run by women. I just happen to have the brand, but it's still run. I have awesome team of women that are around me. I could not have done it without them. I mean, everything that was Lady Boss Summit was all because of the great women that I had. I mean, all the way down to the host. Heather is a rock star, fam. Like, so it was just all about like having dynamic women in the room. It was always about that, right? You know, the first year I had Rubiana's mom was on the first panel. You know what I'm saying? You know, Amber, my other half, was on the panel, on the first panel, the mental health panel, right? And so every woman that's been involved, any woman that has been a part of my life that I was like, hey, if you want this, I'm going to give you the stage because I don't need it. I don't need it. It's not for me. It was for my babies. And so, hey, I'm gonna push as many people forward as I humanly possible as I can, and so that I can just keep doing that because I'm really thinking in game. I'm thinking my thing is instead of me being up there and giving the thank yous, it's the princess up there doing that. And I'm just sitting in the back like this, like, yeah, boy. So that's really where my brain is with it and why I did it. It was never about me. It was always about my babies.
And that's so powerful, you know. And first of all, shout out to being a great dad. You know, that's one of the things with being an entrepreneur and all of the things that we do. People don't realize that we're dads and we're dads first. So shout
Yes,
out
sir.
to being a great dad. Because um, we're overlooked, right? Fathers are overlooked many times, right? Um, I always say, the difference between a lot of our young ladies' success, right, is the input of a father, right? He's going, I don't worry about my daughters being promiscuous in doing certain things because of my input as their father. Like my 17-year-old shut down things that I've never even known happen. It's like, Dad, I've been shut that down. I'm like, what? When did that happen? She's like, it didn't matter, So
Mm-hmm.
I applaud you more than anything else. The business is one thing, and we're going to talk about all of the amazing businesses that you're doing. I want to stop and tip my hat to you being a great father to amazing women and young women growing up. So thank you for sharing that story.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah. Oh man. But I had to stop there. But I want to talk about some of the great things you're doing with Evolve. Because Evolve is amazing. But I don't want to speed there because I don't think most people know that you hang your hat in doing great work in mental health, and
Yeah.
providing service, counseling, support to our community. So I love for you to spend some time talking about, what your company does, what you're doing, and why that
Yeah.
is such a, passion to your heart.
Keep it 100 with you, bro. Can I be real? It's not a passion of mine, but because it was a passion of my other half, I'm just in here doing it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but we're getting ready to celebrate 7 years for Aspire. And 7 years ago, matter of fact, almost to the day now, she had finished her grad school thing. She was like, yo, she just graduated with her master's degree in social work, and I think she had just passed the LSW test or something like that. And we just remodeled our backyard, and she comes out with this binder, this big old white binder. She loved binders and stuff like that, and she drops it on the table while I'm drinking coffee one morning. Right? She goes, Mister, I help people start businesses. I want to start a nonprofit. This is everything you need to go. And that's where it really started. It started from there, right? It was just like, if this is what you want, all right, I got your back. And from there, we started. That started in 2018, fam. And from there, we grew, we started growing, and we've had some iterations of it, different, different 2.0, 3.0, and all that stuff, right? And so we had actually, so Aspire itself, the name of the organization is Aspire, which stands for a supportive presence initiating recovery and empowerment, right? And it is a human services organization that supports individuals who have been, who are currently being, or high risk of being human trafficked or exploited, right? So essentially, we are a nonprofit that combats human trafficking in the region. Um, when we started, we actually were kind of grassroots. Then we opened up a safe house for women. Um, Through that, we started providing therapy in the house immediately. Like, there were a couple of things that happened when somebody would come to the house. Number one, we gave them stuff. We like, yo, take a shower, feel free, da 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 da. Number two, we gave them food. We were like, yo, you need to eat. I don't care what time of day you come in. The two things that are gonna happen immediately when you got here was you're gonna get a meal. First you're gonna take a shower if you want. You're gonna relax. You're gonna get out, and then you're gonna have a meal. And that was one of the things that we started doing. The third thing that we did is we started the therapy process immediately, right? Hey, we're going to get you out of, because we know that you're dealing with trauma, you're coming out of trauma, so let's work on that immediately. Do not pass go. We're going to, very next day, I know it seems a little rough, we're going to finish your intake, and then you're set for your first session. It wasn't like, hey, this, obviously it's voluntary, it's not something that was mandatory, but we were making that stuff optional and available, like in the beginning. 2 years ago, we had to shut the house down at the end of in the middle, like August 2023. We had to shut the house down because we were trying to do something that I think I'm not gonna say we bit off more than we could chew, because I think that we did right by the people at the time, and we helped several dozen people in that time frame. But it was a 24-hour staff spot, man, and it was just hard to fund it. So we were like, well, all right, what do we do? We never stopped doing therapy. So we had grant money. That from the county, from Lehigh, and we have grant money from Lehigh County, grant money from Northampton County, and I believe we had another specific grant for therapy at that time from Lehigh, from City of Allentown. And so we just kept doing therapy as an outreach. Last year, we partnered with an organization that's just been such a support of what we are and what we've been doing, and so we were able to open up our mental health clinic in Allentown. We just started last August. We accept Medicare, Medicaid, and stuff like that, and so we've been in that lane for a year with the mental health clinic, and so Amber runs the clinic. She's the clinician and all that stuff. I do something a little different in the organization, and I'm still boots on the ground. I run a community intervention services, which is basically outreach on steroids. And so we have a program where we're offering like community-based mental health support. So we actually have, we call them outreach therapists, and essentially we just go up and we set up these wellness hubs where we help people get access to mental health support. Even if we got to take it to them, even if we got to go to you, we're going to get you the mental health support that you need. And so we do that in a couple different locations around the city of Allentown and city of Easton, and right now currently. But that's it in a nutshell. I could go on for hours about it, but that's it, everything in a nutshell.
That is awesome. Like, that's like, I didn't know that you guys actually did door-to-door services too. Like, that is awesome, you know. And what I love, again, support of family is in this story. You said Aspire wasn't even your baby. It's your better half's baby. You know,
Yeah,
and and the way you wore the brand so proudly, and I love it. You know that I didn't know it wasn't your fathering thought.
yeah,
And I
man.
love that even now, where it's easy to take credit, because this is where I think a lot of us go wrong, is we take credit for things that really aren't ours. Like, you still gave the credit, hey, this is hers, this is her baby. All I did was do what I do best, right? Support, help build business, and allow
Yeah.
her to thrive in her manner. So I love that the two businesses that I've been loving, so, that you've been doing a lot of are in support of the women that you love, you know, and that's real powerful because Evolve is doing some amazing things too. So I love to talk about Evolve and how it's empowering people not only to understand networking, but to create places, spaces, online and offline,
Hmm.
for people to network. So how? So what is Evolve? First of all, for those who don't know, and how did it get started, and what is it doing?
Well, the story of Evolve is it's been a road, bro. The story of that one. So my background actually is in banking, right? I spent most of my youth in doing banking. And around 2000, let's see, Ruby's born in 2009, so 2009, um, when the world tanked, and so I kept banks that I was working for kept literally shutting down during that time period. Like I would go in, work for, and nope, they lost their life or pulled, So it during that time period, it was just things were happening, and so I had to pivot. And I was working doing some business development for a couple of Latino magazines in Allentown. And they would bring me on as the helping them, they help them break into the English, they called it the English market, right? Because although I'm not Latino, I understood the culture a lot of times, and because I've just been around it a
Mhm.
lot, and so it was a great thing because I could travel between those two worlds and everything, and so I had the blessing of being able to do that. Um, During that time period, one of them got sold. The last one that was one got sold to somebody else, and they didn't need my services anymore. So I was kind of stuck. And so I'll never forget. I don't know if you remember who. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys still talk to him or what have you. But you remember when Alfonso Todd was in the 1101 building, right? And he was doing the early podcasting, like he was doing the radio station, the early days of that, right? And through the early days of that, he was sitting there. One day we're sitting in his office over there. He was, yo, man. He was like, yo, I saw what you did for all of them. Why don't you just start your own magazine? And I was like, wait, really? He's like, yeah, start your own. So I went back to the lab, and I'm like, should I start my own magazine? Nah, yeah, yeah, okay. It took about 6 months, and then that's when I started Evolution Magazine. Evolution Magazine was the idea. It was business, technology, and more. Right. The idea was it was just supposed to be a business. It was supposed to be a magazine to help small business owners. It wasn't supposed to be anything spectacular. It wasn't. I just wanted to get information into the hands of people. I ended up doing a 4-state speaking tour and magazine launch, right, where I was taking the magazine to a couple different places, and I remember ending up in Dallas, Texas, and we were doing an event. We did a pretty big networking event and magazine type of exposure event in Texas, and that it went really, really well. But during this time period, the conversation, everybody was asking me, "Well, what's the business?" I was like, "The business is the magazine." Right. And this one guy was like, "No, but what's the business behind the magazine? Like, do you have another business or is it just the magazine?" I was like, "Really? I do speaking. Yeah, I speak and I like the magazine." And I relaunched his magazine. So I got back and I started thinking about it. I was actually on the flight back, and I started thinking about it. So I started taking notes and everything. And I was like, well, what's the next phase for this thing? Right. Because Evolution Magazine, okay, I'm stuck here. And so in the thing, I started like looking up definitions. And I was like, well, the name of it is evolutions, which is the action, right? So You evolve, but evolution is the practice of it. But you evolve, right? And evolve is evolution. And so then, so I went to the I went to the definition of evolve, and I was like, oh, bet. Actually, this is what I really want my business to do. It's to go from a simple to a more complex state, right? That's it. Simple as that. Right, that was the intent, to go from a simple to a more complex state. It doesn't mean I'm going to help you get rich, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just helping you go from one phase to the next. If we can go with you to the next phase, fantastic. But if we can't, we're here. We helped you go from one phase to the next. And so that's all we wanted to do. So at that time, it was called the Evolve Media Group, because intentionally, the intent was I really wanted to become a media company. I wanted to own more magazines. I started a couple of different magazines at that time. As a matter of fact, I'll go back to, here's a history for you. I started a magazine called Metro, right? And on Metro, Greg was the cover story for Metro. I met him through one of my features in Evolution Lane, and Greg's one of your boys. You see what I'm saying? And so that's how that all started, right? That's how it all started, was because I was like, ooh, and then so I started a series of magazines at that time. I started Metro. I started at that time. Oh, I even started a Latin magazine called oh my goodness, I just lost my thought. It was called Dimelo magazine. Right, I started that and everything, and so it was just like I was creating these magazines, and then companies started asking me to help them start their own magazine. So then I'm going in and so now I'm behind the scenes. I'm publishing magazines for people, right? And doing magazines. My name's not even on the front. I'm not even on the masthead. I'm doing this as a business, right? And so then that started. And then we were trying to I really wanted to start doing more media stuff. So then from there, I started noticing people were when we were doing flyers for stuff. I was like, "Yo, why is this stuff so expensive?" Right? I mean, golly, this stuff is expensive. You're right. This shouldn't be this much. So I started doing some research, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a second. I see what's going on here. They're overcharging." Right? So I go, "Okay, all right." I play the markup game with you. I play that game. So I come in, and then now I bought into a printer company where now I'm like, hey, if you need flyers, banners, whatever that stuff, I was like, yeah, I can do that now. I was like, and then it got to that point, and then it was like, well, what else do people need? So then it was like, oh, people need graphic design. Okay, how do I do that? I don't know how to graphic design. So then I started making connections on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, check it out. If I got you the business, would you do this? Give me a price point, and whatever you charge me, I'm going to work out where, boom, I'm going to put my price point on top of it. I'm going to put a small markup on your work. I'm going to market your company for you, right? I don't need to make all the money. I just want to make a little bit of everything, right? And I'll take, if I got to get, I was just, and that mindset was, I'll get to $1 million, $1 at a time, family, if I had to, right? And so that's really what everything became. And so over the years, then we all of a sudden started getting into branding and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm not even good at this stuff. I just know people. I just kept meeting people on LinkedIn. I mean, literally, that's how I built my business. LinkedIn. I would spend hours like, oh, I like what you're doing. I see somebody tag somebody on a post that they did. I go, oh, I like that graphic. Who's your graphic designer? Let me talk to him. And I would reach out to him. Yeah, send him a message or an email like, hey, I like your work. Let's see if we can talk. So then we started doing that. Then just so if we are in 2025, I ended up running into a company that needed an investor. They basically have, the company is like a small version of GoDaddy. So they do hosting, they do web domains, they do web development, all that stuff. They needed an investor. I was in the mood for investing. So now I bought into a company that does web design, web development, tech, and all that stuff, and we do hosting, we do all of that stuff. And so with all these different things happening, I decided in early last year, late 23, to change the name of the company from the Evolve Media Group to the evolved group of companies, because now I'm like, well, wait a minute, I really want to get into acquisitions, but I don't want to necessarily buy everything. So we started moving into acquisitions by way of joint ventures. And so now I own a little bit of I own a little bit of a couple different companies, but all of those services kind of sit inside of there. So then I started, now going backwards to about 2013, 2014, I started a company called Thrive Public Relations. Right. And the idea is that while we were out here doing all this stuff, I was like, well, it's kind of sucks because I was having a hard time getting people to let me interview them and stuff like that for the magazine or for the website at the time. So I started a PR firm. Right. And I used the PR firm to reach out to people to say, hey, I got a magazine that wants to interview you. Would you like to get media placement? Even though I was owner of all the magazines that they were getting media placement for. So essentially it was just creating my own synergy. So now the group has a company called Thrive Public Relations and Productions, which is the production company for Lady Boss Network and some of my other projects. And so that's kind of how things got started. So now we do marketing, branding, and we've entered into the fractional business development space now. So we do marketing, branding, fractional marketing and branding, and business development space, business development. So we kind of do a little bit of a lot of things inside of the group. And the blessing of the group is that they're not all just like all my companies, right? It is really, hey, most creatives find themselves having a hard time marketing themselves. Right. And because most creatives are introverts like a mug. Right. They're like, oh God, I don't want to be talking to people. And the really successful creatives are out, that they're not out networking, bro. Because they're behind the computer doing graphics and stuff like that. So it was just like, well, I'm out here networking, I'm building networks and all that stuff. I'm going to build this business where I'm taking on. And so the next thing up is we're getting into business concierge services at the end of the year, where I have a team of young ladies that were like, hey, we want to build this business. And the idea is we don't want to be VAs, because VAs is such a harsh term, but we're doing business concierge services, digital business concierge services, where they're going to be basically working at, not just as a VA but as a PA, personal assistant, for companies, for busy executives and business owners. And then we have a version of that that's going to be hyper local, where we're going to have, so they'll be able to go out and help people locally. Hey, you need your dry cleaning picked up, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. And so that's the next phase of everything. But right now we're enjoying the fractional business development space, man, and growing that out, and just enjoying helping people, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. All of this started because I just wanted to help people. Making money is fun, of course I want to make money, right? But that wasn't the catalyst. The catalyst was just seeing that so many people needed support, not necessarily just they like support. It's a lonely world out here in entrepreneurship world, man. I don't know if I don't care how many people are around you as an entrepreneur. There's a good percentage of the time where you are by yourself. You are alone. You could be sitting in a room full of people, but this entrepreneur world, bro, it could be two somewhat successful people sitting in the same room, and both of them like, dude, I'm in this by myself. And then they look at each other. Did you go through that? And you're like, yeah, man. Yeah, you could be. And so that was always the intent. Was like, yo, if I'm feeling like this, then there's got to be others feeling like that. And so I just wanted to be a support for other people, man. Like, let's get out here. Because there's plenty of business, man. There's no need for everybody to cut each other's throat. There's plenty of business out here. You just gotta be willing to go. You gotta be willing to sit online for 2 hours and talk nothing. Just sending messages and saying, hey, how would you like to support? Da, da, da. You're gonna play the numbers game, right? But if you out here worried about what's going on, around here and you're gonna be fighting over crumbs, man. I'm like, look, you know what? Y'all can have the crumbs. I'm gonna go bake my own cake. I'm gonna go over here and bake my own cake, man. Because y'all fighting over that. I know how to make a cake. I got the ingredients, baby. And so that's what I'm gonna go do. And so that's kind of where it evolved from a magazine to a fractional marketing and branding and business development company, right? Is that it was just always about helping other people and helping them achieve their success goals. I get to achieve my success goals by helping others achieve their success goals.
I love it. Zig Ziglar says, right? For to get what you want out of life, right? We have to help more people achieve what they want. So I love that you're talking. I love that you said you built your business strictly on LinkedIn because that's unique. You know, I I was blessed, you know, because people like Greg fell into my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? It through different places and spaces, and and basically that's how Big Happy started. Big Happy started. We started really wanting to starting to solve a problem, and then as we started solving our problems, people kept asking us, "How did you do it?"
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized we weren't even doing our business. We spent more time telling people what we just did. We're like, I guess that's our business now, because we have a network of people of amazing things. So yeah, I love that, because and I love that you talked about not having to own everything, you know, because it is a conglomerate of small businesses that I own a small fraction of, right?
Mm-hmm.
There, I didn't need, like you said, to make $1 million, you don't have to make it in one place,
It's
and,
easier,
and
but you don't
all of
have
these
to.
different businesses.
Right? It's
Yeah,
easier,
but
but you don't
but
have
to
to do it.
build it with people, to build the things with the people that you love, right?
Amen.
All of these businesses that I partially own, on my network, they're people that I love. They're people that I want to see succeed. So to succeed with them, right, just makes it even more exciting to do. So when you help a business, you're not just helping your family,
Mm-hmm.
you're helping that business's family, and you're also helping the family that you're building, right? Which is that network. So I
Yes, sir.
love that you talked about that because, so many of us miss that there's a network that we can find that we didn't have to grow up with, that we didn't have to go to school with, right? That if we are intentional about getting to know and intentional about our actions, we can grow.
Yeah,
So I love that you talked about that because that's powerful.
bro. I remember when you started showing up in spaces where I was like I know I'm from the valley. I'm from here, and there was not one out. There was no one in this area running in circles of where I was. And so when I'm bumping into your name, and I'm talking to people in Utah, I'm talking to people on the West Coast, and I'm bumping, and I'm like, what the heck is he doing? How does he know? And I'm like, what is he doing in CEO space? What is he doing over here? I'm like, all right. I peep game. I got you. I see what you're doing over here, family. And I'm just sitting here cheering from the back, like, go ahead, bro, because there wasn't anyone else over here doing that. And I was like, yo, if he caught on, let him go for that, man. And then when you wrote the book and you was partnering with, I was like, and how I met Greg was through Lane, right? And Lane was like one of like Lane,
My brother Lane.
right? And I was like, man, that's how I met him for that feature, right? For in that magazine was I met him through Lane after I featured Lane in Evolution, right? And so it was like that's how that all came about. And so that whole network over there on the West Coast was actually my goal, and still is to duplicate what those cats were doing over there. Like I don't know if you know who Sandra Fan is out of that crew, right? She
Of
was
course, that's my sister. I can give you her telephone number.
I
That's
got
my
her.
baby.
That's my homie. I
What?
text her too. That's my like. I'm lit. I told her I was like,
What? We
bruh,
when next time you talk to Sandra, right? You'll say Paz Simpson. She'll say club president, New York City. What? That's
we've
my
already
baby. We
talked.
ran see
That's what I'm
we
saying.
built that together.
So I was like, yo, I was like, so I go, so with this is what's crazy because the Lady Boss Network has a series of monthly events called think tanks, right? And I told her before the next year is out, before 2026, she's flying from Utah to this area to host me a think tank. Right? I've told her that like, look, Sandra, you're getting ready to you don't even know, and she's been over there doing her thing, and so I
She's been
I
doing
like I said,
huge
it's
things.
been bruh, watching her growth. I was like, look, she left CEO space and nothing stopped. Nothing stopped.
So
I was like, yo, get it. Get it,
Not
sister.
even, not
And
even left CEO space and nothing stopped. She left CEOs. She built a book of business. Now, when you talk about, you don't have to be perfect. She came into this country, built a book of business for a company, and then built that book of business for her city. So a lot of what she's doing is really what we're doing here now,
yeah,
because it is necessary. So she took what was there and brought it home, and,
yeah,
and
man.
I applaud her, and I thank her for being so bold, even with her husband being sick during all this time. So shout out
Yes,
to
sir. Yes, sir.
Sandra and her husband Dave. So yeah,
Yeah, Dave,
like it,
and that's a miracle. Let's give a shout out for his miracle, bro. I'm not.
yeah,
Let's take a quick moment to shout. This dude was down for the count,
yeah,
and now he's back. I think I even saw that he was back in the gym. I was like, bro,
yeah,
weren't you? He was out for like a year.
yeah,
Bro, couldn't move for
yeah,
nothing, and he's sitting in the gym. I'm like, yo, that's perseverance, bro. That's tenacity right there. And they flew into Florida, and I was like, yo, you were this close to us, you didn't think to come up, like, hey, we're gonna be on the East Coast, could we put something together, like, she was, I think she took the trip down to Mar-a-Lago or whatever, but
yeah. Probably down closer to that's closer in that area is where Les Brown and them are.
no, she was
So
no, she literally went to Mar-a-Lago.
okay,
She and Dave actually went to Mar-a-Lago. I believe they
okay.
went to an event in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah,
I
they were
mean,
down in
I wouldn't
Florida.
put it past her. She's very well connected
Yeah,
and very well, So
yeah,
I,
so
I, I love what they're doing.
yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
but
I got to give them a big shout. But yeah, man, that's what it's been about, man. That's how the network works. As I'm watching you, and I'm like, yo, boom, boom, boom. Again, everybody fighting over crumbs, and I'm like, yo, there's whole cakes over there, bro. Y'all know there's a whole pantry. Y'all don't have to fight over crumbs, man. Y'all can go over it. Look, my man's is from New York, living in the valley, and then he's running with cats. I know. Look, I know the cats that he's running with over there got bread. Let's just give it 100%. Like these are people that I'm aspiring to be around. They was like, look, I think somebody was like, you're going to be the sum total of the five closest people you are to you, right? If you're
yep.
around 5 millionaires,
Charlie
you're going to be the
Tremendous
six,
Jones. Charlie
right?
Tremendous Jones. I'll give you the quote correctly. Says you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most.
Yes, sir.
So yes, you'll hear
It's,
Greg say that all the time because Charlie was his mentor.
and so I'm like, look, you know what?
Yes.
Guess what? I'm going to be that six, baby. It may not be in 2026, but it's going to be. And so let's get it. And that's work. That's work, man. And I think that's the other thing that a lot of people forget, that in this world, man, it's work too, fam. It's sleepless nights sometimes. It's loneliness. It's a lonely world over here because nobody understands you, and then and nobody understands what you're going through, but everybody hates you for going what you're going through because you look like you're going through and you're doing good, you're doing big stuff, and they hating. And you're like, look, if you could take 10 minutes or 30 minutes, you heard what I'm saying? You can't. I was just talking to somebody, was like, they was like, yo, you've been running hard, you've been going hard. But I was like, yeah, I've been going hard because I've been stressed out. I was like, a month ago, my daughter was in a car accident. My baby girl was in a car accident and had a severe concussion, right? And they like, yo, that's all I could do is to keep my mind, like, not worrying about her. So I'm going to put my mind to work. I'm going to go to work because that's my baby. And, and she's walking around with a concussion. And I've had a couple of them from football and sports, right? So I know what she's going through. I'm like, yo, y'all see this. Y'all get to see all of that. Like, come on back here. Let me turn the light on to all this stuff. Let me show you the thoughts of giving up. Like how many times a week that I've waken up and was like, I'm done with this mess. I'm gonna get 9 to 5, baby. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with people. And look, just tell me what to do. Give me my paycheck, and I'm good. Can't tell you how many times that's happened, man. Can't tell you how many times where I'm like, you know what? I want to walk into a building. And I want to walk into a room. I don't know if you remember. There's an old movie back when I was a young boy, Half Baked with Dave Chappelle, right? And old boy was leaving his job. He was like, "F you, F you, you're cool. F you, I'm out. Right? That's some days I want to do that. I want to get up and just go hard. Just go hard on people. Like, you know what? Bang, bang, let them all have it. And you're like, nope. Because I already know the grace of God is that got me to this point is not going to allow me to go through that and not be rewarded. So I'm good, but it's just like you watch people. You're like, come on, man. Don't worry about what they go. When you see that surface stuff, man, get in there, put your hand to the plow, and get to work, man. Because if you're not working, you're worrying about somebody else's stuff, and you're not you worried about what they get, what they have, not what they're doing. And if you could learn about what they're going through, maybe you have a little bit more empathy and try to push. That's why I'm in the business of pushing people forward, because I'm like, look, I know what I've gone through. So let me push you forward, because the more people I can push forward, it helps me go, you know what? I'm not here by myself, family. I'm not by myself. I am, you know what? Those crazy nights, yeah, I've had them too. I got them too. Those crying nights where I'm like, Lord, I need this thing to come through. If this don't come through, the bank accounts, I got staff members now, bruh. I have employees. You know what I'm saying? Life is a little different. Solopreneur world, you're only worried about paying your bills and yourself. If that, right? Now you got responsibilities. You got your kids, and you got these other adults with kids that you worry about making sure they good too. So now, man, it's just, yo, man, I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you watching your growth, bro. Because it's not been an easy task by any means, but you've been persevering through it, and even when everybody else is trying to move on and do something different, you've still been holding strong to it, man. So that there, I applaud you too, Doc. Your work hasn't gone without being recognized, family. Come on, man. We out here. We don't get to. That's the thing, is that we don't get to say that enough to one another. We don't get to do that enough for one another.
It's
true.
Like,
yo, I'm seeing you. I see you,
so
son.
True.
Right? We don't get to do that enough.
I appreciate you. And it's funny how this show got started because you mentioned Greg. This time last summer, my ex-wife went into a coma.
Oh.
So she was in a coma for 72 days.
Wow.
Without, and then when she woke up, I had to nurse her back to health, because that's the mother of the children. So I was, for basically 5 months of my life was put on hold. And then I got a text message from Greg. He's like, "Where are you, champion? I need a video." And I did one video. He's like, "Thank you." Because I was basically just tending the family. Nothing else mattered but bringing her back, because it affected my children. And then I'm like, once you got her out of the rehab, she was out of her home, I said, I gotta get started again. It's like, what do you do? I was like, we're just gonna do this show because you don't have to get started. And this was only supposed to be a 7-day show.
Yes, sir.
Now we're in season 2. Because we just wanted to get started. We wanted to get out of our funk, but we wanted to help somebody.
Yes, sir.
While we got out of our funk, right? Because a helping hand is never afraid to ask for another helping hand. So we said we'll help, and I'm glad that we started, because the amount of stories that we've been able to tell, the guests that we've been able to bring, and we're just being hyper local this summer. I didn't even go out the flag and get Greg yet, because I'm gonna go to his house when I do his interview. There's certain people I haven't even brought on for this platform, because there's so much greatness in our area that we choose to ignore. Like people are ignoring, right, the great work that you're doing. And I see you. Like, I see Aspire. I see Evolve. I see, Lady Boss. And I see what you're doing to empower others. And it's easy to grab onto a Sandra Fawn, who I love, right? A Greg Reed, who I love, a Sharon Lecter, who I love, because these are big names, right? But you're doing just as great for our area, right? It may not be the big name that they have, but those things and those platforms that you're providing, right, were not here, right? There wasn't a secret knock at one time before Greg Reed, right? There wasn't the the masterminds before a Bernie Dorman. So what you're doing for our area needs to get the same type of highlight. So I wanted to, first of all, thank you, and second of all, applaud you for stepping into your greatness.
Appreciate it, Doc.
Yeah, because it's too easy to miss,
for sure.
right? And I tell you, the hour goes by so quickly. We've already gone almost 45 minutes in. So I want to make sure before we ask another question that you tell people how to find each one of those businesses, whether it's online, so that those who are in need of mental health support, those who want to attend a Lady Boss Summit, those who want to, evolve, because Evolve does how many networking events a year? Because now you're doing online and offline events, correct?
Yeah. We are we made some pivots with some of the other brands that we were dealing with, and we pulled out another one. So now I've been one of the projects I've been working with is with Royal now, and we're producing. I've been an admin with Professionals of Color Lehigh Valley since 2019. Excuse me, since 2019. And so we decided, okay, I think it was time to go ahead and bring that out and let that shine a little bit. And then I'm launching the Power Connectors, which is going to be a more exclusive networking group. And the idea of that group is to really bring change makers into the room together. Right. That's going to be my more segmented project when it comes to networking. And then online, bruh, we hosted, I have the Monday morning podcast that we do at 7 a.m. We're going to get you on one day. We're going to get you up. We're going to get you up and at it. But I think you do something on Monday mornings at 7, but we're going to try to make it happen. But then
so it's at 7 it starts. I'm up. I'm up at 6 a.m. So we can definitely do that. And it's summertime, so I don't have normally I'm taking my granddaughter to school. So at 7, I'm free during the summertime. So you can catch me 7 o'clock one of these Mondays.
Yeah, bro. We're more than welcome to have you, bro. We more than would love to have you on, man. Because that's it. So that's called Power Connector Conversations. And that's the brand that's really exploding. We're getting ready to launch the Power Connector Live, which is going to be an event, but it's a podcast event series where every quarter we're going to get into a location and we're filming live. We're going to be filming. It's going to be a networking event and a Q&A type of conversation all kind of rolled up into one. So that's something that's launching this summer. And so we got Power Connector Live happening. And so those brands. And then at the end of the month, Networking Alchemist drops, and then the 21 Laws of Networking drops in July. So those are my 2 books that are about to that I've published that are about to drop. I'm dropping Networking Alchemist for my birthday. So that's going to be the digital version of Networking Alchemist will be made available for I'm not putting it on Amazon. So you're going to have to hit me up to get a copy of the digital version of Networking Alchemist. And then hopefully by the end of the summer, the actual paperback will be available. Again, not putting it up on Amazon.
Are you self-publishing?
It kind of. Yeah, so Evolve has a publishing arm.
We'll talk offline.
Evolve has its own publishing arm.
Okay.
And so we just, I'm just throwing it, all I'm doing is using the same tools from the magazines to do the book. And so we have that.
That's awesome.
We have that in the respect. And so that's kind of what we're getting into. But as far as Aspire, man, everything is Path to Autonomy. If you go on social media and look up Path to Autonomy, that's going to be everything that you're going to see. The www.pathtoautonomy.org. That's the website. Guys, go there if you need support. There's some phone numbers on there for you there. Evolve is www.theegoc.com, or you just find me on LinkedIn, baby. Because that's really where if you want to get in touch with me, that's probably going to be your fastest and most effective way to reaching out to me is going to be LinkedIn. And make sure you hit me, and let me know where you need, because I do get a lot of messages. The other day, I think I went through, I had about 120 or 130 connection invites to go through, and most of them had their own messages and stuff like that. So, but I answer messages. Just reach out to me. That's the place where I play. So I play on LinkedIn way more than anything else. You'll get a response via LinkedIn faster. You get a response to text message from me. So that shows you how much I'm on that platform.
I can attest to that.
you mess around and get a LinkedIn message response than a text message from me. So that's really how we get in touch with me, man. Yes, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but really, to be honest with you, I play more on LinkedIn, man. And just if you need support, Aspire is always here. We're always here, and right now we're growing. So if you know anybody who needs to work through trauma, anybody who needs to work through, and I got to say this, and this is one of the big reasons why we did the outreach. So the therapy outreach is that we ask of our men and women that go to war, right? When they come back and they have issues and they're going through PTSD, they're going through all that stuff, right? We say to them, hey man, there's help available. Why don't you seek therapy? Why don't you seek this? Because you're going through something traumatic, and you need to get that, because that the behaviors behind trauma equal X as a result, right? But how many inner cities do we go to where our babies are walking down the street and they've seen the same level of violence as war? And then we tell them, and we wonder why our babies aren't learning in school. Right? We wonder why we got grown people having fallen outs and stuff at work, because they're dealing with trauma because they can't even walk down the street. You know what I'm saying? You walk down the street in the wrong color, you could get your life taken. And that's trauma. That's traumatic, right? So if we're saying get support for our men and women that sacrifice their lives for our freedom, what more should we do for our babies, man? What should we do for our community? We should be making therapy and mental health support so much more readily available to the people in our cities and in our families, because they're going through just as much, if not more, especially post-COVID. We got a whole generation of kids right now that are dealing with just the trauma of watching a man die in 2020 on TikTok. You see what I'm saying? So we got to put it out there. So if that's going to be my soapbox before I get out of here, it's just, man, it's out there, man, guys. It's mental health support. If you need it, it's out there. If you just need to talk to somebody, reach out, man. That's what this is all about, because we want to see people's lives impacted for good. And we know the detriment of trauma, man. We know it. We don't want to talk about it. We want to push it. Nah, we just got to fight. We're going to hit it head on, man. We're going to give people support, and we're here for other things, man. So I'm looking forward to talking further, man. Looking forward to, if anybody needs us, that's where it is. www.pathtoautonomy.org, or hit me up on LinkedIn. It's literally my name, or you can look up Networking Alchemist. You can't see it. Nobody else is going to have that on their stuff, man.
I love it. And this hour went by so quickly. I told you it would go by so fast. So before we end our show, I'm going to ask you to do what we've done with all of our guests. And that's say my personal manifesto. I'm going to say it for you all the way through, and then I'll ask you to repeat it. I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care, because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So, I love me.
I love me.
I'm worthy.
I can't remember it all. I'm worthy.
I'm worthy. Some people may not like me. Some people may not like me.
Some people may not like
me.
I
don't care. But I don't care.
I don't care. But I don't care, family.
Because the people that matter. Will be glad that I'm here.
Or will be glad that I'm here.
And I am so glad that you spent this time with us, Darnell. I'm so glad that everybody got to hear about all of the wonderful businesses you're doing. I'm so glad that you took the time to really do something to inspire and empower your daughters. I'm so glad that you took the time to support your better half, so that we have a nonprofit in our area that's doing well. I'm so glad that you took the time to write each and every word in those magazines. I'm so glad that you decided to take evolution and make sure that it evolves. So we were glad to have you on our episode today. This was an amazing time, and we're going to leave you with the last word.
Look, I'm appreciative. I thank you for the reach out, brother. I've been waiting a couple of weeks for this conversation, so I appreciate it, man. I'm grateful for you. And I thought I heard Talisha's voice in the background, so I'm going to give her a, hey, girl, how you doing? You owe me a phone call. But outside of that, man,
Hey,
I
you see
appreciate
our
the
team
doc.
is strong.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Talisha was here. Our team is strong. Always collecting that content for us. You know, when you're talking about that's the network, right? When you realize what you're not good at. I can interview. I'm great at many things, but that content thing I haven't mastered. So Talisha is great to have around. Shout out to Content Barbie. You know, if you need a content manager, find her. You know, she's been doing great work for me and a bunch of clients that we've connected it to. So yes, thank you again. You know, this was an amazing episode, and I look forward to joining you on the Power Connectors. So make sure connectors, and we'll see you again next week here on You Don't Have to Be Perfect. Peace.
Copy. Take care, brother.